Hello everybody, my name is Gerben and welcome to Conscious Yes, where we talk about the inner world, the world of the spirit. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about negative emotions. And we have a lot of emotions going through life, and then we call some of them negative, right? And there's this gravitation towards negative emotions, where we hang on to the feeling of them. You know, the anger, where is that separation, or the sadness, or the anxiety. There can be this attachment or this draw to feel these kind of emotions, where we feel for a moment are completely engaged in that separation of me versus you, me versus the world. Like how when we're sad, you know, when we're really sorrow, there's a lot of sorrow, there's that self-pity that feels so peaceful. And you know, because there's such a permission for self-pity when a loved one passes away, and as we're engulfed with sorrow, there's a permission to feel sad, which feels so peaceful. And we're often so afraid to feel negative feelings. We're so afraid to face our fears, to face our shadow self, our dark side. And it's okay. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be the dark side of the moon. Nobody is a good person. We don't have to be good. We're afraid that somebody else, we want to look good in other people's eyes, right? And so we're afraid that somebody sees us in a dark light. We don't want anybody else to see us at the shadow. I gotta hide this shadow self. I gotta hide these bad emotions, this negative side of myself, right? So we self-erase. And we want only the good and not the bad. So why do we gravitate towards these negative emotions? Why do we? Because there's such a hanging on to, sometimes to anxiety or to fear. I think, and it's a little bit speculative, but I think the ego intuitively understands that it's not solid, right? It's not real. It's made up of ideas. And it wants to do everything it can to be solid, to be eternal, it wants to look for those solid emotions where it can say, this is me. I am this. I am loved. I am enlightened. I am sad. I am separate from everybody else. I am a champion. I am a loser, right? It wants to identify with this, with a something. So it feels in that way, it feels secure psychologically for a little bit. But there's that law of diminishing returns, which says that any energy borrowed has to eventually come back to its source, right? And so we borrow energy from my idea. Somebody gives us an idea of, I love you. Somebody gives us an idea of, you're amazing. And for a moment we feel completely inflated, and it's like, yes, I'm amazing, right? This is who I am. For a moment I completely self-identify with that. And then we lose it, and we need to find it again in something else. And so we identify. But negative emotions are for some people very enticing. There's a huge gravitational pull to say, this is me in a negative way, in a way of identifying with one's own narrative or dialogue inside about another person that is negative, right? Is that person's fault, or really identify with one's own anxiety, right? That cling towards anxiety, towards these negative feelings that are inside of us, the fear. So why do we do that? And I think that because everything is vibrations, everything is sound in that way. Anything that's made of energy is sound. There's a vibrational frequency to a rock, and it's much lower than the vibrational frequency of air, of the wind, of grass, right? And I think the ego intuitively, it's a little bit speculative, intuitively understands that something that's lower in vibration is more concrete. And so it gravitates towards these negative emotions because they're lower in vibrations. Like a rock is a lower vibration like fear, and happiness is a higher vibration like air. And so clinging to these as a last resort, to my sadness, to my anxiety, where I can say, oh, I am this, at least I have this. At least here I know what I am inside. And it's concrete. Because see, this is really interesting, because negative emotions are in time. They're in psychological time. When you're happy, you're out of time. You're not in time anymore. You don't care. When you're happy in your job, you don't look at the clock, right? When you do what you love, when you're enjoying yourself, there's no worries, none of that mental picturing of I'm here but I like to be there, It's like impatience. Being impatient is in time. Being patient is out of time. When you're impatient, right? So it's again back into psychological time. And the ego, that's what it feeds on. It feeds on psychological time. That's what it is, really. Thought and time in that way, imaginary time, are the same thing. It's the movement of memory into the past or the future, that of knowledge that we've built up, accumulated, right? That we stand on. These ideas, these axioms, these concepts that we stand on as a person. And so when something happens to us that shakes our foundation, we get afraid, we get fearful, anxious. This foundation of ideas that we stand on. And that's what spirituality is. The first thing it does, right, is shake these ideas, the things that we're afraid of, the things that we don't want to talk about, the shadow side, the dark side of ourselves, right? That's what we need to tackle. That's what we need to investigate. That's what we need to delve into. Head on, right? Head on. And it's become more and more important to do that. To just take the bull by the horns, it's okay to be afraid, It's okay to be afraid of something. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay to live. And all the avoidance of our negative emotions is an avoidance of life, an avoidance of investigating, avoidance of truth. And if that's your game, if you don't want to look into truth, that's fine. But you wouldn't be watching this video if you wouldn't. So the compass heading towards life, towards truth, to what is. With that you can just go ahead. No breaks, no judging, no saying yes to this emotion, no to this emotion. And we're still sane. It's not a free pass to do whatever you want, right? To go out and rob banks and say, well, it's just life. I'm just following my dark side, right? That's bullshit excuses. That's again mental bullshitting, right? So can you not break? Can you go with your feelings, go with life, be on the edge of life, and with that you're not 1 second behind of life? Because most of us, we're 1 second after life happening. What I mean with that is life is constantly happening. We're on the forefront of creativity, of this movement that started with the Big Bang, and then it's still going on. We're still banging away, right? We're still slinging light outwards, and we're on the forefront of that. That's a good picture to remember sometimes, because we are so eager to cut everything up in experiences, in life. Like, this is when the dinosaurs died, and this is when gene segregation started. All this, like, when did the Second World War really start? Can we give it a start point? Because there's so many influences, there's so many causations for this to build up and start. And there's not just one person feeling offended, right? And so, but we like to cut everything up, and so this is what this is how it got there, and this is what happened, which is this limited idea or concept around causality. I've gone over that before, but it's good to repeat, I think, because there is only the present moment, and we forget that. Whatever we refer to, however we want to make a consistent story out of the past, we do it from the present, with our memories. Convenient, useful, but limited, right? So follow life, be on the forefront, be at the end of the Big Bang. And whenever we reside in our ego, whenever we reside in the mental back and forth, past, future, what am I going to do, anticipating, what am I going to get for lunch, I have to pick up the kids, I have to get these groceries, I have to pay these bills, I have to, or what did the person say to me, what my girlfriend really meant when she said that, all that narrative of oneself, referring back to oneself, is being a second after life. Life is constantly bombarding us with input through the senses, through our thoughts. We're constantly bombarded by ideas and our senses, right? Nervous system reacting to whatever we receive from our senses and our thoughts and all that stuff. So what is our place, in that? But we're constantly bombarded by life, so life is constantly happening to us, right? And so where are you? Where's your seat? Where do you sit in yourself, right? Are we in that hyper anal retentive, I'm in charge, logical, place seat in the mind, in the head, where you think that you're constantly in control? It's like that little that little children's car that has like a steering wheel, but doesn't do anything. It just turns left and right. And so that's the position we like to take. As we sit there, we go spinning the steering wheel, but it doesn't really turn the wheels. It's just we have this idea that we're complete control over life. And then we have to make the right decisions constantly, right? I'll go into decision making and action into another, what it means to take action into another video. But and where do you sit? Do you sit in that place which is illusionary, delusional, highly entertaining, at the pursuit of pleasure? That's constant. It's in mental images and ideas that we get lost in. Negative or positive, good and bad. The right thing, the wrong thing. No God, God. Democrat, Republican. That's the play of opposites, which is really beautiful. But we can have to see it for what it is. And the play of life is beautiful. It's very entertaining, right? Ourselves is very entertaining because it's so serious. It thinks it's so serious. That I'm so serious, right? Suit and tie. This is my bank account. That whole serious notion is a disease of arrogance, of ego. Seriousness is seriousness is the comedian of one's own life. The comedian of the comical drama of life, of this universe. And it's both there, life is very sincere. And it's short, and you better make, it's not a rehearsal. You better just be there with life, And the mental imaging is the smallest thing that is possible in life, is thoughts. It's the smallest thing that exists. Because it's an idea, right? It's a mental image about something. So where do we sit? That's the question I'd like to leave you with. Hope this has been helpful, and thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. Bye.